بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا نبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين. Inshallah, we want to see what should be our priority in moral education or educating people about morality. There are many things that we need to address. There are tens of different traits of character and hundreds of, or not, maybe thousands of different practices. So when it comes to qualities of the soul, maybe there are tens. When it comes to the practices, thousands. So if we don't prioritize, what happens? I think when we don't prioritize, what happens is that it would be like on the first come, first serve basis. And it's not always the most important things come first. So we start with something, by the time we take care of it, maybe lots of opportunities are missed. Maybe actually greater opportunities are missed than the opportunities that we have secured by taking care of that thing. A sign of wisdom is never let things force themselves on you. Never let people force themselves or their issues on you. Be respectful. See what is, in need of your attention, but you decide what's the priority. Normally when we read something, someone talks about, we get excited, then we say, okay, let's do this. But have you thought, is this a priority or not? So a rational person, a wise person, always has to prioritize. Always. Especially if you can prioritize those things that are roots for other things, that if you manage to take care of them, they will bring other good things. Okay? So, for example, if we have a piece of land and we want to, for example, use it as a place for having rest and refreshing ourselves, okay, we can bring chair. We can bring, a kettle and say, okay, we serve here tea. But maybe the best thing is first plant some trees. Because if you have trees, then people come here and automatically they bring, chair, they bring tea, they bring picnics. But if you ask people and you also start bringing these things into a desert, what's the point? So some of the things are more fundamental and they bring other good things. So for many years, I was thinking, what are the priorities in moral development? And as a result, what should we prioritize in our education when we want to educate people about morality? Unfortunately, sometimes even we don't have classes on akhlaq. This is one sad thing. But even if we have classes on akhlaq, what do we want to do? We want just to give a list. Many of our books just give us list. They start either according to A to Z, or according, for example, to the different faculties of the soul. There is no kind of hierarchical structure of akhlaq. Some years back, about maybe 8 years, 10 years back. I was invited to go to a meeting of people who were planning for an encyclopedia on the character and conduct of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is an institution that they have done Danishnameh Imam Ali. I don't know if you have seen Danishnameh Imam Ali. They were doing it on Lady Fatima. They wanted to do Danishnameh, means encyclopedia of Sirah Nabawi. And they had different committees, and one committee was responsible for akhlaq. And I went few sessions. One of the things that I mentioned, but at the same time was for me a kind of opportunity to think more about this issue, because many times you are thinking and you say something and then you yourself also understand the next step. I said, did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have all these traits of character that you want to cover at one level? Means, are these, like horizontal, in the sense that Rasulullah started with all of them at the same time, or if not at the same time, at least separately, some of them first, some of them later, but separately without any connection? I don't think this was the case. I think Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a major quality which brought little by little more fruits, and those fruits are virtues and merits. So I said, at least we can say there are two levels, but maybe there are even, can say, more. At that time, I said the first level seems to be ubudiyya. If you are a servant of Allah, then other things become branches and fruits of this root. Never consider root next to branches and fruits. Unfortunately, sometimes we bring even fruits and branches before the root. And this is why we see after 30 years, 40 years, we have not become apt. Maybe we have many virtues, for example, or many good practices, even mu'mineen. I'm not talking about people who are not careful, but the root has not been yet established. Then, few years ago, about maybe 2012, I had a course here. When I was in Iran, I used to come here for courses, sometimes 8 sessions. I had a course on indicators of piety, which is available and that was published as papers. And in that course, I tried to take this study further. I started with signs of Iman, as we have, for example, in the hadith of Imam Askari alayhi salam, there are 5 signs for mu'min. Yeah? And then I said, but these signs are external signs. What does it mean? These signs help you to understand who is not mu'min. They don't help you to understand who is mu'min. Because even a munafiq can have all these 5. A munafiq can have ring and put his forehead on the soil, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, 51 rak'ah, and ziyarat arba'in. Yeah? So these signs are external signs, means you can easily see who is not in the circle. But those who are in the circle, you need to investigate them further. Like, for example, if you go to a place that they have uniform, anyone who doesn't have uniform, you know, that doesn't belong to that organization. But you cannot say anyone who has uniform is one of them, because maybe this is fake. Yeah. So, you know, whoever has a white dress is a doctor. You know, children very easily become doctors and teachers and cook. They think by having the equipments, they become nurse and cook. But we should understand that just by having few practices, we don't become mu'min. So then after these external signs, we studied signs that are in the Quran. When the Quran, for example, talks about mu'mineen, who are muttaqeen. And at the end, my conclusion was that the most important, the most fundamental virtue is truthfulness. And if you are truthful and you become Muslim, for example, like Salman, please tell me how many salat Salman had to say to become a good person? Or how many fasting he had to do in order to become a special? From the first day he was a special. Yeah, because your piety, your iman, is not measured by practices. Is by something deeper, which in my understanding is truthfulness. Okay? If you are truthful and you then embrace Islam, from the first day you are in a very high position. If you are not truthful and keep praying and fasting, it's not that much helping you. You are all familiar with those hadiths that Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam say, لا تنظروا إلى طول ركوع الرجل وسجوده. Don't look at how long is someone's ruku and sujood. Look at صدق الحديث وأداء الأمانة. How truthful they are and how trustworthy they are. Or for example, another hadith says about again salat and fasting, that maybe this has become a habit. لو تركه استوحش. He becomes, he feels lonely, he feels bad. It is a habit. When something becomes a habit, and this is then taking away consciousness, that's the problem. If the habit is there, and still you are doing consciously, it's okay. Ayatollah Mutahhar is a good discussion about this. Some people say habits are always bad. But we say no. Habits are good as long as you still do things consciously. If habit just makes it easier for you. For example, if you don't have habit of saying salat on time, it's very difficult. But if you have a habit, still you can do it consciously. But if it becomes like just automatic, it's a problem. Sometimes, for example, if you live in Qom or Mashhad and you pass by the shrine and you say salam, sometimes then this becomes automatic. Even you don't notice what you are doing, This is not good. It becomes like a, reflex. It has to do with understanding. Okay, so my conclusion was truthfulness. Then in the Hawzah, when we started 4 years ago, Akhlaq series, I undertook this as a project for myself, that I take this discussion further and see how we can prioritize and then how we can show each one leads to the other. So we had a few sessions on truthfulness, alhamdulillah. Then after that, we had a few sessions on dignity. Because I haven't seen so far someone clearly saying truthfulness is the root, although we have arguments. But I don't remember anyone of ulama saying clearly that this is the root of Islamic ethics. But Ayatollah Mutahari says root of Islamic ethics is dignity, karama. And then in the Hawzah we try to show that karama is also very important, and karama and truthfulness are very much connected to each other, but truthfulness is more important than karama. Karama is based on truth. And I was bringing hadith and points about this, but one ayah came as a savior. When Quran talks about itself, that why Quran is not distorted. إنه لكتاب عزيز لا يأتيه الباطل. The relation between izzah and not being false, and falsehood not coming. So it means that even izzah is based on haqq. If you are on the side of truth, you have izzah. And Allah has izzah because He's al-haq. So we talked about dignity after truthfulness. Then we talked about humbleness, humility, which is very clearly connected to truthfulness. Then we talked about gratitude. Then we talked about fairness, and so on and so forth. And right now we are talking about patience. So these are some of the fundamental values. And if in our education we can focus on truthfulness, on trustworthiness, on being honorable, having deep sense of self-honoring and also honoring other people, I think these are doing mu'jiza. If our children become truthful, you know how much in Islam we have about condemnation of kizb. Mu'min may do many bad things but never tells a lie. So iman and telling lie conflict. We have lots of discussion here, that even any case, if there is a dispute between husband and wife, parents and children, brothers and sisters, neighbors, partners, enemies, any case, indeed, it's a test for our truthfulness. If I don't recognize the truth that you represent, I am not a truthful person. Truthfulness is not just to acknowledge the truth that we learn in kalam and articles of faith. If you are really truthful, in every moment a truth is presented, even by your enemy, you should accept. If you are truthful, no matter who is saying the truth. And if you have made mistake, you should admit that you have made mistake. So, if we can manage to invest on truthfulness, that's great achievement. But how can truthfulness become a permanent quality? And how we can make sure that we always operate on the basis of truthfulness? What's your answer? Is the question clear? Yes. Maybe you can say different things, no problem. You can say whatever comes to your mind, then we will.
Because you just have to keep at it. Keep at practice. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is a very key element here. You cannot be truthful all the time unless you are rational. Rationality. عقلانیت. عاقل بودن. Because the best thing that we have to come to the truth is what? Is aql. Of course, with aql we may come to recognize religion also, then we can use that. But even when you are understanding religion, you have to remain aql. I always say this when I have a lecture for non-Shia, non-Muslims about Shia Islam. I say one of the characteristics of Shia Islam is rationality. And then I use for them a beautiful analogy that Ayatollah Jawadi Amoli mentioned. Once we took a group of Christians to meet him, and he mentioned this beautiful example, a kind of analogy, tamthil. He said, some people think aql is a scale, mizan. So you measure and weigh everything with aql. This is not right. Because if you say aql is the only measure, then there are many things that we learn through other means of knowledge, like perception. Things that you see, you touch, you smell. Can you understand by your aql? No. Or things that we learn through religion. Some of them we may not understand by aql. Like details about hell and heaven, we don't understand. So it's not good to say everything can only be accepted if it is understandable by aql. Yes, we can say we don't accept anything that contradicts aql. Okay? There is a big difference between these two. We don't accept anything that contradicts aql, but we may have things that are not understandable by aql. For example, if I ask you how many people are in the next room, if you keep thinking, even if you are a great philosopher, you cannot understand the answer. This is not something you can understand by aql. Either you have to go and see, or someone has to go and see and tell you. Okay? But if someone says in the next room there are 1 million people, this is against aql. Because aql says this has not this much space. Okay? So anything that you understand from other sources, or for example, even when you see something, okay? For example, you have a pen, it's a straight, you put it half into the water, it bends. Your aql says this is mistake. So although perception is not understood by aql, but aql can come and correct. So we don't have anything against aql. Okay? So if revelation says something against aql, we don't accept. But if revelation says something which is beyond aql, not contradicting aql, we accept. Because revelation is already proved for us. So, some people say aql is the measure, is the scale. We say no, aql is not the only scale. Mu'tazilites seem to have this tendency that everything should be measured by aql. It seems that this is their kind of position. The second analogy is that aql is a key, a miftah. By aql, you unlock the door and get into religion. Aql brings you to religion. You prove existence of God. You prove that this is a true revelation. This man is a true prophet. But then after that, you don't need the key. When you are inside home, you don't need key. This leads to many problems. People who say we only need aql to come to religion, but after we become religious, we don't need aql. It's very dangerous. Okay? The third analogy which we accept is that aql is neither scale nor key. Aql is a torch. With this torch, first we find the door. We open the door, we get into religion, but we keep the torch with us. Inside the room, we have other light. That's light of revelation. But we still keep the torch and shed both lights on the issues that are there so that we don't see anything wrong. So, rationality is very, very important. There is a hadith that you can find, unfortunately I don't have the reference with me now, but they praise someone, I think was to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, if I'm not mistaken, but one ma'soom. They praise someone. Imam said, how is his aql? People normally praise by looking at people's practices, actions, or for example, secondary qualities. But Imam said, how is his aql? Recently, I read a story that some people wrote to one of ulama, who was a marja in Najaf, and they recommended a local alim to become his representative. And he didn't reply. So they kept few messages, they suggested, please make this person your representative. He is knowledgeable. He has, good akhlaq. After some time, one of them went to Najaf and met that marja and said, we kept requesting this, but you didn't reply. He said, because you told me about knowledge and other things, but you didn't tell me about his aql. I cannot choose as my representative someone that I am not sure about his rationality. And for me, at this age, it's very, very clear that neither knowledge nor even taqwa in the sense that we define taqwa would be enough. Of course, in my understanding of taqwa, rationality is part of taqwa, but the way we traditionally define taqwa, someone who doesn't do any haram, does all the wajibat, this is not enough. How rational is that person? Yes.
How would we or someone be able to tell about the rationality of the person?
Yes, very good. So, rationality is very important. What are the signs of rationality? It's your question, yeah. What are different aspects of rationality? For example, yes. If someone is really truthful, means he is seeking the truth and wants to commit himself to the truth, sooner or later he finds the truth. Because Allah does itmamul hujjah. If for any reason he doesn't find the truth, he's excused if he's truthful. But truthfulness means you are not at rest unless you find the truth. Not that you wait here and then when the truth is presented you accept. This is not enough. Of course, this is important that when truth is presented you accept, but truthfulness means you have no rest unless you find the truth. Right. So search for truth, seeking truth is very important. Okay? So, what are the signs of rationality? One sign of rationality is on what basis you accept or reject things. Do you accept things when they become famous? When many people say it, you accept it? Or when it is printed, it is published, it is circulated, it is watched on TV? Do you accept? I have a tricky question for you. Do you think a rational person would accept what his teacher tells him?
What teacher? Which teacher?
A great teacher. Pardon?
If he considers the teacher to be rational, then he would accept.
But rational people can make mistakes. So no rational person accepts what another rational person says without himself checking that. It's very important. You know, one of the problems I think we have is
Can you repeat this part in Farsi, please? This last part.
اون کسی که عاقل هست و عاقلانه برخورد میکنه نمیتواند چیزی را به مجرد اینکه مثلا یک عالم بزرگی میگه یا استادش میگه یا یک علامه‌ای میگه که خیلی هم عاقله خیلی هم خوبه قبول کنه. اگر شما استادتون یک چیزی گفت و با گفتن او و شنیدن از او بدون اینکه به مبناش به دلیلش فکر کنید قبول کردید، اینجا یه مشکلی وجود داره. یعنی اینجا احساسات شد. من دیگه دارم جای بالاشو میگم دیگه، جایی که افراد عادی صحبت میکنن که هیچی، سخنران مثلا یه سخنران یا سیاستمداری یک نویسنده اونا که هیچ. من میگم حتی علامه طباطبایی اگر صحبت کرد، خب اگر برای ما روشن شد بله میپذیریم، اما روشن نشد نمیپذیریم. واسه همین تو حوزه شما میبینید مراجع بزرگ درس میدن، شاگردا اشکال میکنن. اگه قرار باشه مرجع هر چی بگه اینا قبول کنند و برن یادداشت کنن که درس نشد که. بله؟
علم پیش نمیره.
آره علم پیش نمیره. بله معصوم یه بحث دیگری داره. معصوم چون برای ما ثابت شده که حرف غیر حق نمیزنه، اون حساب سواست. ولی غیر معصوم هر چقدر هم که بزرگ باشه نباید ما فکر کردن را تعطیل کنیم.
It takes up a lot of your time. I mean, it's really like it stops you from,
آفرین. It's a good question. Maybe for many issues you don't need to investigate yourself. For example, it's your marja. Okay? You don't need to find out the truth yourself. You trust him. It's okay. Or an experienced person gives you advice about spirituality, you accept practically. But you cannot 100% say what he said is true. So as a rational person, you don't believe unless there is reason, But practically, you may say there are issues for which I don't need to believe myself. I go to a doctor, doctor says take this prescription. Okay? If I become certain there is something wrong in my mind, how can you be certain? I cannot be certain, but practically I take the prescription and I use it.
Exactly.
Do you understand the difference? So I'm not saying you should not accept what an alim says. No, you can accept, you can act upon it. But I'm saying you cannot believe unless you have your own hujjah. Do you understand? So this is very important sign of rationality. If people don't get it right, of course, they may think we are na'uzubillah, not respectful to authorities. No, we are respectful to authorities, but the role of authorities is not that they make us certain. The role of authority is that they give us a practical evidence, practical basis for action. شما سوال داشتی؟
Are the imams of Afkar, Afkar are the imams of Qulub, Qulub are the imams of Ihsas, and Ihsas are the imams of Hawzah. And I think it's very important to clarify that when we talk about Aql, we are not talking about what which is related to fiqh, so to the mind, and so even when we talk about rationality, probably is not the correct word to use, I think, because rationality is more related to the mind, fiqh. Because if aql and mind were the same thing, then Imam Ali wouldn't have said this, that all are the imams of fiqh.
Fiqh is not mind.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the correct
Mind is
translation in English, but like tafakkur,
thinking.
everything related to thinking. So when we
So thinking is your attempt to use your aql.
I don't agree with it. I'm sorry. I think it's different.
This is the way scholars define.
I know the majority of scholars, because I did my dissertation on this issue about aql. I mean, I had this issue in my dissertation, and I know most of the scholars don't distinguish between aql and fiqh.
We distinguish. They're different, but they are not totally separate. So what is fiqh? Fiqh is the process that your mind goes through in order to discover something which is unknown. But who is doing all these checkings and all these investigations? It's aql. But if you don't use aql, means you don't do tafakkur. If you do tafakkur, means you are using your aql. So what I want to say is there is an issue that unfortunately is not clear. Some people think that we are blindly, for example, follow al-maraja. They say, taqlid is blindly. We don't follow blindly maraja. We have good reason to follow them practically, but at the same time, we have our reservation that this might not be 100% the truth. This might not be what is in the knowledge of God. Okay? So now, if a muqallid, by hearing what his marja says, becomes 100% sure, then this is a problem. You know, this is a problem. How you can be 100% sure? Even he himself should not be 100% sure. But suppose he's 100% sure. How you can be 100% sure? Just by hearing. He has to bring argument for you, and you are not expert to even look into the argument. In any case, what I want to say is a rational person, apart from ma'sumin, would examine everything which is said. No matter a friend is saying this or an enemy is saying this, no matter this is said by thousands of people or only one person, number is not important. Yes, sometimes number can be an indication. For example, if many ulama have said something, this can be an indication, but it cannot be a proof. But between you and God, go and check how many of things we believe in, especially when it comes to judging about people and groups for which we don't have concrete evidence. When you go somewhere and hear from few people, then you accept. Most of us are like this. Or we reject. We don't use aql. Yes. We have very good car, but we don't know how to drive it. Aql is hujjah, means it's a very good, reliable car. Yeah? But you have to use it. Quran says even aql of people who go to hell is reliable. Because Quran says, لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير. Had we listened to prophets, because we said ma'soom is different. Had we listened to ma'soom or used our aql, na'aqil, ma kunna fi ashab al-sa'ir. Question, when they say na'aqil, means they use their aql or aql of mu'minin. For sure it means using their own aql. Not that if we have used aql of mu'minin. Means any person, if uses his or her aql, he would come to the truth. And this is why aql is hujjah. Aql is hujjah not only for mu'minin. For any human being, aql is hujjah. And aql never betrays. Aql never misguides. It's very beautiful in Dua Sabah. We say, Nafsi mahjub, aqli maghlub, wa hawai ghalib. My aql is defeated. My hawa, my appetites have, or whims have become dominant. It doesn't say my aql betrayed me. My aql is corrupt. Aql is a hujjah of Allah even if they put him in prison. Like Imam Kazim is a hujjah of Allah even if they put him in prison. Even if they kill him, he's a hujjah of Allah. Aql is also hujjah. Inna lillahi ta'ala ala nasi hujjatain. Hujjatan zahira وهي الأنبياء والرسل والأئمة وحجة باطنة وهي العقول. Hujjah of Allah. Imam Kazim in Hadith of Hisham ibn Hakam. There is a beautiful sentence in this Hadith of Hisham ibn Hakam. Many beautiful sentences, but one sentence is unbelievable. Says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not sent prophets and messengers unless people understand him rationally. And then it says, if maybe you can find أكملهم إيمانا أحسنهم عقلا, something like this. Can you find?
check it on the internet or on Jamia al-Hadith?
Yeah, in hadith of in beginning of Usul al-Kafi, the best people in Iman are the. You found it?
No. أحسنه عقلا you said?
أحسنهم عقلا
أحسنهم.
or أكملهم عقلا, something like this. So the best people in Iman are the best in Aql. Okay? Even in Usul al-Kafi, read Allah says to Aql, Beka'u Thib, Beka'u Aqib. Punishment, reward is based on Aql. One of the things that we have to consider if we are rational is not to say everything that we hear. Unfortunately, we keep hearing and forwarding. We keep hearing and relaying to other people. This is not good. One thing is also not to accept anything because it is new or old, and not reject because it is new or old. There are people that don't accept new things. But if something is old, they accept. On the other hand, there are people who accept everything which is new. But they always want to hear new things. To hear new things, if it is in the sense of new discovery, is good. But if it is contradicting previous things, it's not always good. Why we should keep hearing new things if we have already good thing known? So, rational people have different, signs. I mentioned some of these signs. Shohra is not important. Majority or minority is not important. It's not important. I mean, it's not a proof. It can be an indication. Another thing that I think is a sign of rationality is that you are always happy to discuss. If someone says, I don't discuss, there is a problem. Why you don't want to discuss? If, for example, they think this is something that other people cannot understand. For example, some people say this, I cannot explain to you, but this is proved for me. Okay, so keep it for yourself. If something has been a result of thinking, one of the beauties of human thinking is that it's always available for other human beings to look at it. Because they have aql, we have aql. Both aql work with the same logic. So if what you say is really based on thinking and aqli process, I should also be able to look at it. If you say, no, it's only given to me directly by Allah, okay, maybe for you it's good. But this is not aqli. Beautiful. Ya Hisham, ma ba'ath Allah. For the sake of Allah, look at this. It's very beautiful, but unfortunately very far from our reality. Ma ba'ath Allah anbiya'ahu wa rusulahu ila ibadih. Allah has not sent His prophets and messengers to His servants illa liya'qilu an Allah, except that they come to rational understanding of Allah. They can think and rationalize their knowledge of Allah. فَأَحْسَنُهُمْ اسْتِجَابَةً. The best of people in the response to the prophets and messengers are أَحْسَنُهُمْ مَعْرِفَةً. Those who have better ma'rifah. وَأَعْلَمُهُمْ بِأَمْرِ اللَّهِ. Who have better knowledge. أَحْسَنُهُمْ عَقْلًا. Those who have better aql. وَأَكْمَلُهُمْ عَقْلًا. So it's both of them.
Both, yeah.
Yes. وَأَكْمَلُهُمْ عَقْلًا أَرْفَعُهُمْ دَرَجَةً فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. The most perfect in aql are the highest in rank in dunya and akhirah. Then Imam says, Ya Hisham, inna lillah ala nas hujjatan. So, followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam must be most rational people. If you are rational, you are happy to discuss. If you are rational, why you need to shout? Anyone who wants to shout, I think there is a problem. Yeah? If you are, in a position that you can argue, why you shout? When I am weak in my position, or maybe the other person, I say that person doesn't listen to the truth, then I may shout. But shout is not going to make someone convinced. Who is in the world that when he has a doubt and you shout at him, his doubt is over? For example, some people, shout, offend, insult, swear at people of other mazahib or other religions. I say, do you think by this anyone becomes, sympathetic?
Makes situation more worse.
Yeah. Even if with your own children you disagree, especially if you have, teenagers, but even young children, if you disagree, and then you kindly, talk to them softly, gently, maybe they accept, even sometimes they don't accept. But if you shout at them, they accept. Maybe you can silence them, maybe you can frighten them for some time, but they don't become convinced. I don't know how some people think by using rude language and offensive language they can convince people. These are not the instruments that a rational person uses. Like for example, a doctor has certain instruments. A doctor is not using dirty things. A rational person also uses certain instruments. For a rational person, dialogue, conversation, discussion, books, conference. These are things for rational people. Yeah? But if you use, instead of these things, other means, then it's problematic. So, rationality is very important. One of the things that I think we should do in our community, this is about leadership. Suppose you are a group of soldiers and you have a commander. That's your leader. What should we do when we are a group of soldiers and we have a commander? Who should think?
Commander. Everyone should think, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, everyone should think.
Okay, but
the commander makes the decision.
so if the commander makes a decision, why we should think? Maybe someone says you are wasting your time. If in practice you just follow his decision, why you are thinking?
You can do it consciously, otherwise you'd be doing it like a sheep.
I have
Without
this
understanding.
question regarding to Vilayat al-Faqih مثلا. بعضهم میگن چرا باید همش سکوت کرد؟ same like commander ولی فقیه.
Any leadership, yeah? Because the question is, in the end of the day, one person has to make the decision. Yeah, we cannot, all make decisions. It becomes chaos. If one person makes decision, and even if he sometimes makes mistakes, it's better than we all make decision, because that means always we have problem, always we have conflict. Yeah. So even if he's not ma'soom, first of all, he has more knowledge, more wisdom, more experience, taqwa, okay? But even if he makes mistakes, it's better than us all the time fighting for every day. A group of soldiers who all the time, fight.
Won't get anything done.
Okay. But my question is something else. I say no question that we should follow the leadership. We should follow the commander. But should we also
If we are not
spend our time
satisfied-
and energy on thinking or not?
If we are not satisfied, then again we have to follow.
So only when you are not satisfied. Of course, even if you are not satisfied, you have to follow. Yeah. Because if you say I only follow if I'm satisfied, then this is not leadership. You cannot make your acceptance a condition.
It's like doing hijab, or some sisters do
Yeah.
argue about hijab. They're not totally convinced, so they say when we are convinced, then we'll start doing hijab. So what's expected from them to wear hijab, and then isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so you were saying that should we still think if we have a leader? I think that even if we have a leader and we think this is a way of supporting our leader, maybe somewhere we can, if there's a need of discussion or something where we can support our leader.
Different people see different perspectives. Maybe they might see something that maybe the leader didn't see. So through the process of consultation, they don't have a right to make a decision, but through a process of consultation, maybe the leader can see something new.
Yes. So one point is that even the leader, before he makes his decision, would consult. And if we are not people of thinking, what help we can offer? We have not used our aql. We have not been critical, analytical. So we have to be thinking. We have to be developing as much as possible sound, objective opinion. But our opinion practically may not have value. But we have this opinion. Okay? Even when it comes to religion, we cannot say we accept something from religion if we are satisfied. But still, as much as possible, you have to tafakkur, ta'aqqul, so that maybe you can understand what's the philosophy behind this. Yeah? Not as a condition. You cannot say to Allah, I accept your ruling if I am convinced. But at the same time, Allah expects from you that you have to reflect, you have to ponder.
سوال بود این سوالی که این سوال من بود
خب.
اگر ما satisfied نیستیم
Yeah.
باید لیدر رو فالو کنیم اگر میگید که فالو کنید بعد تضاد داره با اون حرفی که شما گفتید که هر کی میخواد بشه وقتی حرفی میزنه لازم نیست که ما بدون تفکر قبول کنیم یعنی برای من این یه خورده واضح نشد متوجه سوال من شد
نه شاید نه.
اول یه مثالی زده بود در مورد مجتهد طلبه.
خب.
بعد الان گفتید کاماندر. باید حرف کاماندر رو گوش بدیم.
یکیه.
اون طرف گفتید که نه حرف مجتهد نباید.
نه من میگم گوش بدید اما در عین حال خودتونم فکر کنید. یعنی دو تا لاین در جلو میره. Theoretically you are the commander of your aql. You have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Theoretically.
فرق میکنه با نان معصوم یعنی سوال من این بود که اگر ما سرتیفاید نیستیم رول میگه که لیدر رو باید فالو کرد
خب
ولی ابتدای صحبتشون فرمودین که خب اگر هر کی میخواد هر حرفی بزنه تا وقتی که عقلم استفاده نکنم لازم نیست به اون حرف ایمان پیدا کنم
ولی عمل باید بکنی.
عمل باید بکنی
گفتم ایمان نمیتونی پیدا، ایمان که با چیز نمیشه، ایمان که با تکلیف درست نمیشه که مثلا بگی آقا شما باید ایمان بیاری به حرف مرجع. یس میتونیم بگیم که عمل کن طبق این.
پس من کنفیوز شدم با صحبت شما.
خب
یعنی باید
شاید مشکل لنگویج شاید باشه.
نه
ببینید
من حرفتون رو فهمیدم ولی
من اینو میگم.
من
میخوام بگم یک عالم، یک رهبر، یک مرجع وقتی چیزی میگه
ما باید
شما به مجرد شنیدن نمیتونی یقین کنی، باید عقل است، چون عقل حجته. درسته؟
ولی
اگه اون شخص
تکلیف هم
معصوم
نمی‌کنه.
باشه شنیدن معصوم حجته، اما اگه اون معصوم نباشه شنیدن حجت نیست. اما در این حال ممکنه او یه پوزیشنی داشته باشد که ولو اینکه شما یقین نداری باز باید به حرفش گوش بدی. نمیتونی بگی من در صورتی به حرفت گوش میدم که یقین داشته باشم. این اشتباهه. اینم غیر عاقلانه است که کسی بگه که من فقط در صورتی به لیدر خودم گوش میدم که یقین داشته باشم، یا در صورتی به مجتهد گوش میدم که یقین داشته باشم، در صورتی به طبیب گوش میدم که یقین داره. این عاقلانه نیست. درست شد؟ اما از اون طرف من میخوام بگم حتی در این جاهایی که ما به لحاظ عملی میدونیم که وظیفمون اینه که گوش بدیم، همین جا هم باز باید شما اون لاین تینکینگ خودت را دنبال کنی.
خب اگر من باید گوش بدم عرض معذرت از همه و تینکینگ من به جایی میرسه که اون رانگه،
خب آیا شما میتونید بگید که این خیلی سوال خوبیه، میتونید بگید که این خطای بیان است یا نه؟ نظر من اینه، من خیلی روی فکر کردم. اگه بگم خطای باز گوش باید بدم، چون مثلا ما در فرض کن یک کاماندر داریم 10 تا سربازا میگن این داره اشتباه میکنه، ما یقین داریم خب باشه، خب نظر شما اهمیت نداره در عمل. اما اگر خطای بیان شد، اون وقت اونجا میشه بحث کرد. یعنی اختلاف در نظر نیست. مثلا فرض کنید، مثلا میگم اینا خیلی پیچیده است، جایی نگید اینا رو. مثلا اگر فرض کنید مثلا مرجع تقلید گفت این مثلا شخص، حالا مرجع اینو نمیگه معمولا، ولی حالا مثلا اگر اومد گفت که این شخص مثلا امام جماعت شما باشه و شما خودت دیدی که این شخص شراب میخوره، مثلا گناه میکنه، نه اینکه تحلیل کردی ها، چون ما متاسفانه خیلی وقتا یقینامون تحلیلی و ایناست. اما اگه خطای بیان باشه، یعنی یا خدای نکرده مثلا اون رهبر یا کاماندر، اون مرجع اصلا صلاحیتش رو از دست بده، متوجه؟ اون یا بحثای دیگری است. ولی تا خطای بیان نباشه، فقط اختلاف باشه، اون میگه این درسته، من میگم این درسته، این حجت نمیشه که من حرف رو گوش ندم. چون اگه قرار بشه هر جا که ما فکر میکنیم حرف ما درسته و حرف او اشتباهه گوش ندیم، خب پس عملا به جای نمیرسه.
ببخشید پس عقلانیت من چه فایده داشت؟
عقلانیت شما چند تا فایده داره. یک، اینکه شما باید مشورت بدی. دو، اگر شما خودتون عقلانیت داشته باشی، خیلی چیزا هست که به فعل خودت هم مربوط میشه. مثلا فرض کن اون لیدرشپ یه دستوری میده، ولی شما باید اینو عاقلانه اینجا پیاده کنی. اگه خودت ذهنت خالی باشه و اصلا نتونی تیز کنی، یه چیزی اون گفته شما یه جوری پیادهش میکنی که اصلا ضد میشه. لذا من ایدم اینه که اینو یه بحثی هم داشتیم که یه بار یا چند بار جای مختلف من میگفتم ما الان خیلی کورس داریم. We have many courses on leadership, which is okay. I'm not against it. But more than leadership, we need to have courses on discipleship. How we can be good followers. Who are good followers? Yeah. Now everyone is thinking of, becoming a leader, for example. Not everyone, but I'm saying this is the way they encourage you in the West. You can be leader. You can, but no problem. But I'm saying, in my understanding of Islamic leadership, the next leaders are the people who were the most sincere followers, but rational followers. So, if for example I live with a leader, supposing I'm not talking about Wali Faqih, very high, a local leader. If I have been living with him, I loved him, I respected him, I sacrificed my comfort for him. But at the same time, I was thinking myself. I was checking everything myself. I was examining. But I was always, in the end, following his decision. Over time, I become like him. But if I was disobedient and I didn't really love him, I never learned from him. Or if I was obedient but not thinking, I can never occupy his position. So you have to be sincere, selfless, but at the same time, independent thinker. Like for example, Maraja, normally they're most talented, some of the most talented, and at the same time, respectful and close students become next marja. Because unless you really love someone and respect someone, you cannot learn. But at the same time, you cannot just love without understanding. And one of the beauties of a leader consulting people is not only he benefits from them, but in this way he trains them. Because, if you have close advisors and you have been thinking and discussing, so little by little, they become also aware of all the subtle things. So it's like a command army that you have commander, but then you don't have only soldiers. Then you have different ranks of people. So the second to command, the third to command is always there, because we have been training ourselves, not by thinking of becoming leader. The most devoted, the most selfless, but also rational, can become the second and the third to command. Okay. I didn't want to talk about leadership, but because you asked about rationality, so I wanted to say rationality is very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm still not very much convinced about
It's good.
That shows you're rational.
She's very rational.
Yes.
just
No, no.
because I was thinking that if the main criteria by which Allah is going to judge us is aql, so and if we take the meaning of aql like being rational and rationality, then all or the majority like of Christian people are going to be judged in a negative way because they are not rational in their beliefs, because they believe in something which is against rationality, like God becoming, I don't know how to say in English, like kind of person, and this kind of, but there are many things in Christianity which are not, you cannot rationally explain.
That's right.
When actually we believe that many of Christian people are actually better than Muslims. So
Very good question.
But then if we understand aql as being something different from belief and this kind of thing, like a pure essence, I think this would solve somehow the issue. Because even if they are wrong in their beliefs, but their essence is pure they accept the truth when they are faced with truth, and then otherwise, it.
Yes. This is a good question. The answer is this. Rationality has different aspects. What you are saying, it's about aqaid. And as I said, rationality is not just to believe in the articles of faith. Maybe when it comes to aqaid, we are rational people. But when it comes to social life, are we rational or more rational than them? That's the question.
But then
So
you have to explain what you mean by rational in
means
ethics.
means
because
you
it's different.
means you are driven not by emotions, not by pressure, not by fashion, not by fame, not by old or new. You are driven only by reason. Your decision is what other rational people also can appreciate. Your decision is something that you are not going to regret. Because even if you make mistake, but you have been acting rationally, you will not regret. The Quran says, for example, إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة. So here ulama say تصيبوا قوما بجهالة means that when you listen to someone who is fasiq, then it's not rational. You would regret. But if you listen to someone who is truthful, you have hujjah, even if you make mistake, this is not jahala. If I listen to a qualified marja and he makes mistakes, I am not doing jahala. So, actually what is very important is to be rational in real life scenarios. Alhamdulillah, we, especially Shia, Alhamdulillah, I am very grateful. When it comes to aqaid, we are normally, not all of us, but normally we are rational people. We think, we study, we are able to analyze, criticize. But this should be spread to all areas of life. But you see, when it comes to social life, to politics, we are not always rational. When it comes to family issues, we are not always rational. So much anger and prejudice and biasness can get into our way. I'm not saying this is our problem only, but I'm saying we have to improve.
Sorry, it seems like rationality is not alone. There is a pure heart should be with. Like عقل تنها عقل کافی نیست. یه قلب صادق، قلب پاک وقتی باشه، کنارش باشه، اون موقع کامل میشه، تکمیل میشه.
Of course. If you are truthful and rational, then your heart would be pure.
از قلب به عقل یا از عقل به قلب؟
You can start with anyone, but after some time they should synchronize. You cannot have pure heart without being rational and truthful, or you cannot be rational and truthful without having pure heart. So in the end of the day, they should synchronize. So rationality is very important. Another thing which is very important is to be able to work with each other. This is something also that I mention as priorities. I have a lecture, I think it's called Outcomes of Islamic Education. So I have mentioned these points there, but not in these details. Now I add more details. But I have said truthfulness, rationality, and collective approach. One of the things that in our education we have to focus on is what? Is to be able to think together and make decision together and implement together. Look at this ayah, how beautiful it is. إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا. Why when it comes to haq and sabr we need tawasaw? Tawasi is the master. Because when you want to find the truth alone, there's a great chance you don't find it. We need to help each other in this process. And this is why I said a rational person is always happy to discuss, to learn, to share. Social life. It's the idea of social wilaya. It's very important. If someone says Iman and Amal Saleh should be enough, why Allah says in addition to Iman and Amal Saleh, Tawasaw bil haq wa tawasaw bil sabr? Is it true that Iman and Amal Saleh are enough? Yeah, but if someone asks you how many things we need to be saved from loss, you say Iman and Amal Saleh. My understanding is yes, Iman and Amal Saleh are enough. But in order to be able to maintain Iman and Amal Saleh, you need Tawasaw bil haq wa tawasaw bil sabr. So these are not at the same level of Iman and Amal Saleh. These are techniques to make sure that you can maintain your Iman and Amal Saleh. Or means to reach and to preserve Iman and Amal Saleh is to Tawasaw bil haq wa tawasaw bil sabr. Or tawasaw bil sabr wa tawasaw bil marhama. So one of the things that we have to invest on in our moral education is what? This spirit of we, not me.
This very individualistic world.
Yes, which is very, very important. And you know, people who are truthful and rational, they can work together. People who are emotional, they cannot work together. Maybe after some time, you know, emotions become negative. Why? Anbiya, you know, Imam Khomeini used to say that if 124,000 prophets are living together, they would not have any fight. Why? Because they're rational and they are following the truth. It's not that, you know, say, you know, I don't like your face, I don't like, you know, your behavior, I don't like the way you know, talk, you walk. You know, I have been thinking a lot about divisions in our community, you know, among politicians. Many times, you know, I've been thinking. In Iran, and also when I was outside, you know, when I was in local communities. And my understanding is great percentage of these divisions are emotional. People who sit together and eat together normally are in the same party. People who stop talking to each other and communicating, then they become worse. Little by little become enmity. Yeah. You know, when you listen to them, you think, oh, they have big differences. One says, you know, for example, something about this marja, that marja, or, you know, big political issues. On the surface, looks very, very radical, you know, difference. But when you go deeper, how these people got together, you know, got together, you see there are many either family ties or friendship that has put them in one party or the other. Or someone was, pardon? So the solution is this:
Rationality.
from childhood, we should upbring rational, truthful, and community-minded children. Yeah, we are lost. Then at least the next generation, we can try, but we are almost finished. No, I'm joking. We can also change, but I'm saying that you can change yourself. But if you want to change people who are at your age, it's difficult. This is what I mean. Of course, we can always work on ourselves, but it's difficult. So if you want, you have a choice to work on people who are 40, 50, 60 years, or work on the children. I say work on the children. This is my idea. Although maybe these children are more difficult to work with in a sense, but it's more rewarding and more productive. Inshallah, we should have a generation of people that are able to control their emotions, their anger. They speak when they have good reason to speak. What is good reason for speaking?
To contribute towards something.
Yeah, but how you understand you are benefiting?
They think about it before they speak, I guess. That's when they.
So a good reason, this is one of the things that we should discuss maybe at one time. Good reason for speaking is not just you speak because you have something to say. Good reason to speak is first when you are sure that you have truth. Even to be sure that you have truth is not enough. You have to be in a position that from someone like you, it is expected to know this subject.
Sorry? Again?
No. For example, I have not lived in Manchester, for example. Okay? But I have certainty that this is what has to be done in Manchester. I'm sure. And even I criticize, for example, people who are there. Or I take one side. I say, why you say this? He says, I am sure. And in Usul al-Fiqh they say, yaqeen is hujjat zati. I say, this is wrong. What is the rational basis of this certainty? If you are in a person that from someone like you, rational people expect to have a sound judgment, you can say something. And rational people never say to someone who has not lived there, he would have a sound judgment. Like, I am sure that this medicine works for you. I'm sure. But if I have not been trained, my certainty has no value. So I was thinking, how some people make mistake. And one reason I came to this conclusion, that sometimes they make mistakes because they don't have what I call ishraf. Ishraf, to look at something from above. When you look at something from above, you are in a position to make a judgment. When you look at something from below or from side, you cannot. So, how can I, for example, say something about what, for example, one, for example, I don't know, responsible person is doing, when I am not in a position to have ishraf. You understand? So you should be sure about the truth, and your certainty should be something that people who are rational would say it is expected from someone like you to have a sound certainty. Not that it is because of your short-sightedness or your rush that you have come to this conclusion. And then, even after you are sure that you have a sound judgment and you are sure that this is the right thing, you have ishraf, okay? Is this going to be beneficial or not? ليس كل ما يعلم يقال. Everything which is known is not said. Again, here lots of considerations come. And then, even if you are sure that this is something which is beneficial or not harmful, and there are lots of details here, how to say it? The Quran has two beautiful verses that I think one of them is the second level of the first. One is Allah says, قُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. للناس, not mu'mineen. للناس قُولُوا حُسْنًا. Say good and beautiful things to people. Let alone mu'mineen. A mu'min cannot use bad words. قُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. But then there is another ayah which even goes further. قُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Not only say good, say the best. Who should be the most polite, the most respectful people in the world? If people do survey, say what we say to each other on Facebook and what other communities say to each other on Facebook, for example, as a just sample. Who should be the most respectful people? We should be the most respectful people. Who should be the most loving and caring and considerate people? We should be. Are we like that? So, we have to work out all. I wish we could make this like a book that we bring all these issues with details and examples, because these are real issues of life. And unless we become rational people in thinking, in speaking, in taking positions, in initiating or stopping relations, our life would not improve that much. So, this is about the third point, and then I've mentioned 2 points about practices. There are 2 practices which are the most fundamental ones. Of course, we have many practices, but 2. One is salat, one is charity. Salat and charity. Alhamdulillah, you have Salat retreat, which I was very happy to see, and we pray for your success. Salat is very, very important. We, unfortunately, I say about myself, we have not understood the significance of Salat. Salat by itself is a school. It's a, what we say, maktab. Yeah? Just Salat. I cannot think, please correct me, any person who says Salat properly with a spiritual connection, then he would be harming people, cheating and lying and doing mischief. If you have real Salat, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ. And also charity. especially if they can have involvement in charity, not just giving money, involvement in charity. Okay, I think I should stop here. So if you could somehow bring these few elements into the core of your teaching, emphasizing on truthfulness, on rationality, on being together as a community, as a team, and salat and charity. I think these are guaranteeing, this can guarantee that everything else inshallah will come. You cannot go wrong if you have these things. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. If you are not too tired, I wanted to read a hadith just as a khitamuhu misk. Is okay? But I don't interpret. I just translate. Inshallah, maybe now the meaning is clear. This hadith is from Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. He says, I am very amazed by this hadith. How things are well connected. Ra'sul ilm at-tawadhu. Ra'sul ilm at-tawadhu. If someone wants knowledge, he has to be humble. And if someone is knowledgeable, he's humble. If by learning we become arrogant, means we are not learning, we are just putting some data in our mind. Alim is the one whose mind and heart function. But someone who is just feeling his memory and only operating at the level of mind, he's not alim. Therefore, when it comes to heart, making decisions, loving, hating, he can be like a jahil. رُبَّ عَالِمٍ قَتَلَهُ جَهْلُهُ. Then Imam says, وَمِن ثَمَرَاتِهِ التَّقْوَى. One of the fruits of knowledge is taqwa. وَاجْتِنَابُ الْهَوَى. Refraining and avoiding whims. وَاتِّبَاعُ الْحَقِّ. Following the truth. وَمُجَانَبَةُ الذُّنُوبِ. Avoiding sins. وَمَوَدَّةُ الْإِخْوَانِ. This collective aspect is here. مَوَدَّةُ الْإِخْوَانِ. Friendship with brothers. So, real ulama are voices of unity. Those who have only filled their mind, they might divide. But if you're a real alim, مَوَدَّةُ الْإِخْوَانِ. وَالْإِسْتِمَاعُ مِنَ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Ilm makes you interested in listening to ulama. Carefully listening. Istima means listening carefully. Anyone who has no interest in learning and thinks I know enough, or na'uzubillah underestimates ulama and says I am the most knowledgeable, this is a problem. When your knowledge increases, you develop more love for ulama. Even you love students. وَالْقَبُولُ مِنْهُمْ. You listen carefully from ulama and you accept from them. You don't show arrogance to ulama. وَمِنْ ثَمَرَاتِهِ. Another fruit of ilm. تَرْكُ الْإِنْتِقَامِ عِنْدَ الْقُدْرَةِ. When you are powerful, you don't go for retaliation or revenge. Yeah. واستقباح مقاربة الباطل. You would find it ugly. استقبح means وجده قبيحا. You find it ugly to get near باطل. Truthfulness. You know? استقباح مقاربة الباطل. We had اتباع الحق, but here also from the other side. You find it ugly and immoral to approach باطل or be with باطل. واستحسان متابعة الحق. And you find beautiful to follow حق. Isn't this clear about truthfulness? وقول الصدق. You tell the truth. والتجافي عن سرور في غفلة. You refrain from joy which comes with heedlessness. You know, joy which is superficial, you know. وعن فعل ما يعقب ندامة. You don't do something that would lead to regret. والعلم يزيد العاقل عقلا. Knowledge adds to rational person, adds to his aql. Because aql needs something, like you have a car, it needs petrol. Aql is your car. Ilm is the petrol you put in the aql. You know, if you are very aql but you don't have any knowledge to, you know, process, what do you want to process? You have to have ingredients to cook. وَيُورِثُ مُتَعَلِّمَهُ صِفَاتِ حَمْدٍ. Knowledge gives to the learners of knowledge qualities that are praised. فَيَجْعَلُ الْحَلِيمَ أَمِيرًا. Make a person who is patient a leader. وَذَا الْمَشْوَرَةِ. So it shows that a leader needs very much to be halim. So alim and halim, because people may say things that, you know, you feel offended, but you have to be patient. Alatul ra'asa sa'atul sadr. And someone who has good opinion to give consultation, with ilm he becomes wazir. Wazir means helper and, you know, aid. وَيَقْمَعُ الْحِرْص. Removes greediness. وَيَخْلَعُ الْمَكْرِ. And stops making plots. وَيُمِيتُ الْبُخْلِ. And kills miserliness. No, miserliness. Stinginess. وَيَجْعَلُ مُطْلَقَ الْفُحْشِ مَأْسُورًا. Anything bad becomes imprisoned. وَيُعِيدُ السَّدَادَ قَرِيبًا. And brings or makes firmness near. Very beautiful hadith.
People need a whole Sohamani.
Yes, it needs one Muharram.
Muharram, yeah.
May inshallah Allah enable us to follow. من الان از میزان الحکمه خوندم، البته این چیزه 13955 ولی آدرسش از مطالب السؤول صفحه 48. میزان الحکمه، کتاب به اصطلاح علم، ثمرة العلم، 13955